What it do? NMA crew, I'm back with another rant and listen. I listened to, what is it, Pinkerton and the Blue album from Weezer. It's a little bit of a lesser known kind of indie band. You guys probably don't know it, so I'll try to explain it to you. But, you know, it was really damn good. And it's funny because I have a good friend who's like all time, at least the last time I checked with her, like her all time favorite band is Weezer. If you're listening to this, hi Maya. And I never really understood why. I've heard a ton of their songs just because they're absurdly popular. But after listening to these two albums, I'm pretty sure I might have a decent grip on why and why I personally like them. As far as just the songs go, and these albums in particular, before I talk about the broader appeal, I guess my favorite one from the Blue album. It's tough. It's tough. I think I'm gonna go with Only in Dreams, because I'm a sucker for a long song that doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome. I feel like that's a difficult thing to balance, and I think that song balances it pretty well. I think it's just overall my favorite song, my favorite chorus, and my favorite moments from that Blue album. And then, when it comes to Pinkerton, Tired of Sex. Because, listen, as an anime YouTuber, I can relate to the struggle of constantly having women proposition you for, like, very attractive women, propositioning you for sex on a constant basis. It's so hard. I can't even understand myself because I'm just so busy, doing all that. I'm kidding, of course. But that is actually probably my favorite song. I like how raw some of the vocals were, but overall I thought the Blue album was definitely a little bit more enjoyable on the whole, as well as it was just a little bit more period. I think it was a little bit longer. It felt like there were more songs to it. There were definitely more good songs to it. So I guess out of the two, I would probably prefer the Blue album, but I don't mind Pinkerton. I don't mind it, man. But the more interesting thing that I guess I wanted to talk about was the broader appeal of Weezer, because I don't know. I've never understood it. I've never been a music head. I've never been part of any music oriented subcultures or anything like that. But it seems that most subcultures, which oftentimes, more often than anything else, form around music, are formed around people who are sort of rejects, emo goth scene. For whatever reason you feel at least anxious or insecure, if not outright alienated around your peers. Whatever reason that may be, maybe you're a gay, or maybe you're just weird, or maybe you're mentally ill or neurodivergent, or I don't really care. But for whatever reason, if you feel insecure or alienated around your peers, I think it's a very common thing to get really into these musical-based subcultures where you will have your own community where you are accepted and you guys can, I don't know if this is true or detached, but on some level bond over a common, not only a common interest, but also potentially a common experience of, having social anxiety, or, being bullied or facing social rejection or things like that. It sort of allows you to step away from the people and communities, just broader communities which make you insecure, and you have your own, somewhat safer space where you're able to talk to like-minded people who have the same weird interests as you, who won't judge you, and, you can let your freak flag fly over there in the emo community, or goth or anything like that. But there's a little bit of a disconnect, because I feel like on some level, I always thought emo people were cool. You know what I mean? For a group of people who largely formed around not being socially acceptable or not being socially accepted, they're really cool. So there's a little bit of a dissonance. It's almost a little bit paradoxical in that sense, especially when you also consider the idea of elitism within these communities. And people are oftentimes gatekeepy because they're very protective of the communities that they feel safe in. But a lot of people are just outright pretentious, and it's like you have to know this many bands, or else you're not real emo, or like you're not real goth, whatever. All this boring, lame stuff that's just obsessing way too much over the music itself. And I feel like I say all that just to say I feel like that just does not fit Weezer at all. And in some sense, that's pretty refreshing because Weezer is obviously a band with a ton of commercial mega hits, like songs everybody's heard. They do not do anything over the top in terms of like their presentation or their persona or anything. Like literally one of these albums is the Blue Album. It's just the guys standing there in normal clothes with a blue background and the album just says Weezer. So like they're not doing any like grand theatrics to try to like win anybody over or like even set themselves apart all that much. But the instrumentals and the vocals are very solid. I realized both of those things, or I took note of both of those things independently of each other throughout these listens. And it just feels like refreshingly non-pretentious, I guess. It's sort of like I hear them talked about oftentimes in the same breath as like Radiohead Creep, the song Creep by Radiohead, and I think I definitely see why. They're called Weezer. That's not even a word, but it sounds dumb as hell. I guess there's Carl Weezer, and he was a nerd. They just sound dumb. They sound lame. They're not trying to really sound cool to anybody, and it really doesn't seem like they're trying to appeal all that much. It seems like they're really just being honest with their emotions and, upfront with the fact that they're probably going to be judged for them because they're just a little bit geeky and a little bit dorky. They can still be super successful because most people are a little geeky and a little bit dorky, and they're really not that crazy weird or anything. But it seems like Weezer just says what's on their mind, man, and I think that's something that people respect a lot. And I think I may be wrong because the music community never fails to amaze me with just how insanely like elitist it is, but I don't think there's like this legion of like super hyper pretentious Weezer fans who like think you have to have like the same like favorite album as them, or like you're not a real fan and you don't even understand the music or something. I'm sure that's possible, but I think overall there's just much less of an emphasis. There's more of an emphasis on the actual emotions of like just like shame and anxiety and just being a dork and stuff. And I think that's pretty refreshing. Also, about the name, I mentioned the name Weezer like 3 times now, but wheezing is a vocal thing. I like it, and especially a little bit towards the earlier end of the Pinkerton album, when they kind of push their voice a little bit more and they really let their emotion fall into their voice. That is something I love in music. Bjork does it. Serge from System of a Down does it a lot. Those are 2 of like my favorite, most listened to artists. And I just think you can get such a strong emotional impression from somebody just based on the vocals alone, regardless of what the lyrics are even saying. But the lyrics also just happen to be highly relatable to like everybody. I would assume. Well, okay, no, so I think it's a little specific on Pinkerton a little bit, but these are just like tales as old as time. They're just being dorky guys, and I think that's pretty cool. I feel like it really speaks to the mindset of like music and subculture, and I think it's neat. So that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I don't know if that was in any way coherent, but have an amazing day.